Coming up on the November 19th edition of Carolina Week, the university is likely facing a lawsuit related to the Wainstein report. Media organizations want to know the names of people disciplined or fired.
Scandal. It's a word that UNC students and faculty are all too familiar with by now. It started with athletics, then academics, and now race.
We build too many walls and not enough bridges. Those are the words of Sir Isaac Newton, and there are some folks in Appalachia who would certainly agree. All that and more.
Carolina Week starts right now.
From the UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering Carolina in HD, this is Carolina Week.
Scandal has gripped this university for the past 4 years. An athletic scandal, an academic scandal. Some are arguing tonight it's a racial scandal as well. Good evening, I'm Anissa Jabbar.
And I'm Kristen Ruffin. More about the racial angle in a moment. First, an update to the Board of Trustees. Elizabeth Chu is live at the Rizzo Conference Center, where the trustees are hearing about new initiatives the university has put in place to make sure the shortcomings of the past never happen again.
Kristen, the Board of Trustees have been outside this building all day, and it's safe to say that Provost Jim Dean has probably had to answer quite a few questions because it's been exactly 4 weeks since the Wainstein report was released. And media organizations, well, they want to know who's being held accountable. On October 22nd, Chancellor Carol Folt stood on stage and answered questions about the Wainstein report. The first question came from this AP reporter.
How many of the 9 people are being fired? Who are they? On what grounds? And if you won't answer that, why not?
Folt's answer:
we have pretty strict rules about privacy. We don't talk about personnel issues and give anybody's name ever in the press, and so I'm not going to talk about them individually.
That answer has 10 media outlets around the state ready to sue the university under public records law. Mike Toddy is the lawyer drafting the suit.
We do think that those records are also subject to the public records law. It's an exception to the confidentiality of personnel records.
The Daily Tar Heel is also suing. We talked to Editor-in-Chief Jenny Serrain.
I am disappointed in the way that they've handled this because I have no idea if anybody's actually going to pay. I have no idea if the people that were implicated in this report are going to be able to keep their jobs.
Toddy says depending on how the draft progresses, we may have the names of those 9 people as early as Christmas. And remember, Chancellor Carol Folt said it was the actions of a few and the inactions of a great number of people that led to these issues. Kristen.
Elizabeth Chu live at the Rizzo Conference Center. Thanks, Elizabeth. The Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, UNC's accrediting body, sent a letter to the administration 6 days ago. According to the university, that letter hasn't arrived yet.
Critics have said that Boxall and others got too close to athletics, and that's what led to the problems. Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham has a different take.
I want more people to be close to athletics. I want people to act with integrity. I want people in the athletic department to act with integrity. I want faculty to act with integrity. It's not a question of whether or not you're too close or whether or not you're a fan. It's what you do.
Cunningham adds that the university has already made lots of changes, but he recognizes that there could be some severe penalties on the way.
Now back to the racial component of this story. At UNC, blacks are most definitely a minority, especially African American men. A march called "Can You See Us Now" suggested the Wainstein report was as much about race as academics and athletics. Madison Morgan takes a look at the numbers.
Miles Robinson is a minority. You can see that, but he's more of a minority than you might think. He's one of 546 African-American undergraduate males on this campus, and there's a 1 in 3 chance he's an athlete.
You have a lot of black males that are athletes, and then some that are academic. They're here for academics like myself, and you have this perception that if you carry around a water bottle or if you're in athletic clothes, like you must be on some athletic team.
Even when you add African-American females, blacks make up only 8.8% of the undergraduate population here at Carolina. African-Americans represent 22% of the state's population. State Senator Gladys Robinson says that's not good enough.
Our kids are good enough. They have the good GPAs, they have the SATs, and they should be admitted to Carolina.
African-American male athletes are having little trouble being accepted. Of the African-American males, 30% are athletes, most in the 2 revenue sports, basketball and football.
Like the times of gladiators, etc. You know, use you to play ball, but don't care anything about your life and the quality of education you receive.
Only do African American males like Miles Robinson make up only about 3% of students on campus. The graduation rates of that group are paltry at best. 40% of African American males don't graduate from UNC within 4 years. Carolina's overall graduation rate is around 81%.
You're expected to do a lot in the classroom, outside the classroom, and it can be very overwhelming for the average student here.
The university says it's trying to help. Dr. Taffy Clayton says outreach programs such as the Carolina Millennial Scholars Program are vital to improving the number and graduation rates for black males.
There are units across this campus and individuals, professionals across this campus who are engaged in this work, who are committed to this work.
Senator Robinson is a former member of the UNC Board of Governors. She says it's time for the board to take some responsibility.
And the Board of Governors needs to really have an internal assessment of what's going on. Doesn't matter what school you think you represent on that Board of Governors, you have an obligation to the citizens of this state.
You get mixed in the shuffle sometimes if you don't have a support system like you should or like you want to.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Madison Morgan.
The UNC system, made up of 17 campuses, has a total population of 21% African American students, which is representative of North Carolina's demographics. 5 of those campuses are historically black universities.
So fewer than 550 African American males attend UNC. Only about 40% of that group graduates in 4 years, half the total student body's rate. African American males aren't the only ones underrepresented at UNC. The Carolina Millennial Scholars Program is designed to improve retention rates and representation of minority males on campus.
Moving from the tropical city of Itajuba to a pictorial American university is a jump from one hemisphere to another.
It gives me a different perspective on things.
From Brazil to Chapel Hill, junior Frank Silva is among the 124 Latino male students at Carolina.
A lot of people I know see Brazil and think of favelas and this poverty, and to know that my family has made it out of it and that we can fight and live great lives.
A great opportunity, but a part of a distinct minority. Silva says he doesn't feel like a statistic, and being a part of Millennial Scholars is why.
Making me feel like I'm a human being and not just a number.
The program guides minority males by pairing them with mentor scholars and academic opportunities. Marco Barker is director of the organization.
Our main priorities is really making sure that students have a great Carolina experience, but most importantly, they finish.
A priority that has resulted in a 100% retention rate within the program.
It really is about students being empowered to leave Carolina and go on and make an impact in the same ways that CMSP made an impact in their lives.
Silva says CMSP has helped him adjust at Carolina.
Their guidance helped me put me on the right track to success.
And he says he's on track to becoming the first person in his family to graduate from an American university.
Being on par now with all these other students here in an American university is huge.
The Carolina Millennial Scholars Program aims to recruit, retain, and offer a living learning community for minority males through graduation. The applicant's race is a factor in UNC admissions decisions, but a federal lawsuit is challenging that practice at Carolina and Harvard. The group Project on Fair Representation says race-based affirmative action policies hurt high-achieving white and Asian students.
A former presidential candidate is sharing his life story, trying to inspire the next generation. Tuesday, the UNC College Republicans hosted Tea Party activist Herman Cain at Carroll Hall. Cain was a candidate for president in 2012. The business executive called his speech "Saving the American Dream" and told curious students and guests that he came from humble beginnings. He also said to reach your dream, you shouldn't just conjure it in your mind, but say it out loud. Anissa, were you valedictorian, salutatorian, or top 10 in your class?
None of the above, actually. And if some local high school students get their wish, those rankings will go away. We'll explain next.
Be sure to check out Carolina Week online at carolinaweek.org. Connect with us online by liking the Carolina Week Facebook page and following us on Twitter at Carolina Week UNC.
My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
I wouldn't use this one.
He helps me with my decision making.
Never.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
A beloved children's television animal that spent its last year of life right here in the Triangle has passed away. Jovian, the star of the PBS Kids wildlife show Zaboomafoo, passed away last week. Jovian was a cockerel Sifika lemur. His cause of death was kidney failure. He was 20 and a half years old. Jovian spent the last years of his life at Duke Lemur Center in Durham.
And speaking of on-screen classics, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, can you believe The Wizard of Oz premiered 75 years ago? University Mall put on an event to celebrate the anniversary of the famous movie. People dressed up as the widely known characters, including Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. Children who dressed up received gifts. They also made rainbows out of colored sand or pipe cleaners.
Have you ever needed your car washed but can't seem to find the time? Two UNC students are trying to fix that problem while also giving back to the community. Austin Helms and Randy Short have started Buddies. It's a waterless car wash. They use eco-friendly suds and car washing rags. It's also a car wash with a purpose. The whole premise is to have your car washed while you shop. The proceeds go to Southern Seasons Share the Food Foundation, an organization dedicated to fighting poverty and hunger.
Lots of events are helping kick off the holiday season. The Winterwoods Holiday Shop was one of them. It took place at Woods Charter School and brought in more than 40 vendors to meet shoppers' holiday needs. The gym was full of manufactured and handmade goods, including jewelry, food products, and home decor. Students from the school provided live entertainment with performances of several holiday tunes.
The Carolina Postdoc Program for Faculty Diversity is celebrating 30 years of advancing diversity and fostering excellence. The setting for alums was intimate as 3 decades of the program's scholars reunited at the Sheraton Hotel. Administrators welcomed the scholars back to Chapel Hill for the reunion social. A photography team helped to commemorate the evening, and scholars enjoyed food and a live performance by Near Blind James and Harmonica Bob. Many of the scholars say they'll always be Tar Heels at heart.
Most of us can remember competing for the highest rank in our high school classes, or at least as high as we could. But if local students get their way, there will be no more ranking and competition. It'll be a thing of the past. Katie Fiore has the story.
Ida Halliv, Havlin Scroggs, and James Creason, normal high school students at East Chapel Hill High. Normal, except that they're fighting to have class rank removed from high school transcripts.
And we're really trying to get rid of class rank, and we've gotten the state legislators' attention, and so we're really going to try and pursue that this year because class rank is pointless.
Pointless, they say, because it puts too much pressure on students trying to get into top schools. Jeff Nash helps the group.
Just to point out how much pressure is on the students, this school that we're sitting in right now, last year, if a student had a 4.0 GPA, that student would be in the bottom half of their class.
Students say advanced placement, or AP classes, are a big part of the problem, especially when considering being well-rounded, something top schools consider. They say pressure to take the heavily weighted AP classes takes away from being able to do what they truly want to do.
If I hadn't taken so many AP classes last year, I would have been able to do tennis in the spring. One of my classes conflicted with doing that in the afternoon, so I wasn't able to take that, and that's something that I really missed.
Some students say that another issue with AP classes carrying more weight is that students whose schools don't offer as many of those courses don't have the chance to attain such an impressive GPA.
According to the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at UNC, counselors look at size of school, curriculum rigor, and academic achievements in addition to class rank. Officials hope doing this will put students from different schools on a level playing field. Scroggs doesn't think so.
Well, at this school, I'm ranked number 15, and I have a pretty high GPA, and so I know that at a different school, I'd be ranked way higher than number 15.
Although legislators have not made changes yet, the students have vowed to remain persistent. In Chapel Hill, I'm Katie Fiore reporting.
The group meets with the superintendent once a week and hopes to get the school board to buy into the idea.
It was warmer in Anchorage, Alaska this morning than it was in Chapel Hill.
That has bundled up UNC students thinking that weathercaster Drew Day has some explaining to do. He's up next.
You wanted to be a teacher when you were little, but things changed. Teaching didn't seem that cool anymore. So you decided to become something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Amazing things are happening in teaching, so it's time to put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft. To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Drew Day. Thanks for sticking with us. It was a cold morning across the state today. We set several record low temperatures across the state this morning. We set a record low of 17 in Fayetteville, breaking the previous record of 21. 19 here in Raleigh. Their record low was also 21. We hit a low of 16 in Greensboro and 14 in Charlotte. Both of these record lows as well. So it was quite anonymously cold across the state today. Now we have plenty of sunshine, so we did see just a little bit warmer temperatures today than what we saw yesterday. Not quite as cold, but still below normal for this time of year. We have just a little bit of cloud cover moving into the western part of the state, so those will move eastward and move over us overnight, but they certainly won't produce any precipitation or have any major effect on our weather this evening. The satellite in the broader picture shows that we do have an area of high pressure sitting just offshore with a cold front lining up just to our west. And you can see that here, all this cloud cover as a result of that cold front. And this cold front will be pushing eastward throughout the day tomorrow, and that will lead to some colder temperatures on Friday and at least keep temperatures below normal here, at least for the next few days. So there's that high pressure system lining up right here, right about at this hour, and then we have this cold front sitting off just to the west. We have an area of low pressure over the Great Lakes producing numerous amounts of lake effect snow in those areas, but around here we continue to remain dry. Now for tomorrow morning around 1 a.m. the cold front will be still back off into Tennessee, and that by the time we get to 1 p.m. it will be in the western part of the state ready to move through our area, so that by the time we get to 7 p.m. tomorrow, the cold front has passed through the state, and we have this area of high pressure here starting to build in, bringing us sunny skies throughout the day on Friday. But because this cold front will have passed, we'll at least see just one more day of cooler temperatures on Friday as well, with highs sitting in the 50s, with this area of high pressure here bringing down colder air from the north out of Canada right directly into North Carolina. So overnight tonight, expect temperatures to be right around 26 degrees with partly cloudy skies. And then for tomorrow, expect a high right around 54. So it will still be chilly and still below normal. Our normal high for this time of year is right around 60. And there will be a little bit of a wind out there as well. So it'll even feel colder than 54 once you factor in the wind chill. And then tomorrow morning, as you're waking up, cold to start at 31, 48 by lunchtime, but plenty of sunshine, 39 by 8 p.m. So if you're headed out to the UNC at Duke game tomorrow evening, it will be cold. So be sure to bring a jacket. If you don't, you will regret it. And then the 5-day forecast shows They will see 50 on Friday, so just one day of colder temperatures once that cold front moves through, and then after that, temperatures will start to warm back up. We'll be back into the mid-60s on Sunday and 70 on Monday.
Well, get me to Sunday because I'm ready for some warmer temperatures again. It's so cold.
Yes, with all these cold temperatures, I think we're all ready for warmer weather.
Yes, thank you very much, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
You're welcome.
Tomorrow night, the Tobacco Road Battle for the Bell.
Luis Fernandez is next with sports.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish! In your face, in your face.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Today, 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic. That means many of the future doctors who will care for us, the engineers who will build our cities, the scientists and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids. We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone. And every day more people support you to make it happen. Many support you. And the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education. HSF.net.
You guys going to my party on Friday?
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be crazy.
All right.
What's up, dude? I'm loving your jacket.
Don't be such a fag.
If you don't mean it, why say it? Words hurt. Think before you speak.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Luis Fernandez with sports. We begin with a developing story. Witnesses say a black sports car struck a UNC football player who was driving his motor scooter on Raleigh Road just before 9 this morning. No word yet about his condition. Watch our sister show Sports Extra Monday at 5 for an update on the situation. We do hope he is okay, but we're moving on now. In case you didn't notice, it's a tad bit cold outside. Fortunately for the women's basketball team, they play inside. Tonight, the number 11 Tar Heels will play the number 21 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Tip-off is at 6. The NCAA bracket for men's soccer is out. Let's take a look at what the Heels will have to face. Carolina wasn't a top 16 seed, so they'll have to play in the first round. The Heels will be at Fetzer Field against James Madison at 7 tomorrow. A win would mean a UNC battle, 10th seeded Charlotte versus Chapel Hill. Last year, the Tar Heels lost in the second round against UC Irvine. Now, while women's basketball gets to play inside, head coach Larry Fedora and the football team will have to play in the cold tomorrow night. After its win against Pitt Saturday, Carolina sits at 5-5 with one more win needed to be bowl eligible. But standing in the way is a familiar foe.
The Battle of the Blues, Duke and North Carolina, a heated rivalry for the ages. No, I'm not talking about on the court, I mean on the field. The matchup between these two ACC teams on Thursday will shape their entire season. Carolina needs one more win to be bowl eligible. And Duke, if they win their last two, the Blue Devils can pack their bags for a trip to Charlotte for the ACC championship game. Oh, and don't forget about this. The victory bell. Duke's been able to hold on to it for 2 years in a row now. Freshman linebacker Kason Collins understands how important this game is.
I've always hated Duke. So that's been my mindset, you know, coming into this year is I can't wait for the Duke game. Especially knowing that, you know, my friend Sean's going there. You know, definitely looking forward to having the bragging rights. And that's just the mindset around here is just get the bell back.
Now let's take a look at the actual matchup. That friend of Collins? That's Duke's leading rusher, Sean Wilson. He's part of a fearsome Duke running attack that averages almost 200 yards a game. Then there's wide receiver Jamison Crowder. This explosive playmaker could cause problems for UNC's secondary. Defensively, the Blue Devils are one of the best units in the country. They give up only 18 points per game with less than 200 yards through the air. But they rank 96th in the country in run defense, nearly 200 yards per game. Sounds like a dose of running back TJ Logan, and quarterback Marquise Williams could be just what Carolina needs. Speaking of Logan, he had nearly 100 yards against Pitt, and Williams is confident when he's in the game.
Yeah, TJ Logan's been running. He ran hard today, and I felt good that, I can get in, what they was going to gash with TJ Logan, and I could just get right behind the tackle, and I could just keep moving my legs and me one-on-one with the linebacker and just do what I need to do.
Look for the defense to be opportunistic as well. Duke quarterback Alex Boone has thrown 2 interceptions in both of Duke's losses this year. So, I guess playing football, it hurts, but playing football in the cold, that's on a whole other level.
Well, I guess if anything, the positive side is that they're not playing in several feet of snow like people up north.
I'll be inside watching, definitely, when Carolina Week returns.
We bridge the gap between the present and the past.
I thought you were going to tag on.
I was like playing with my mic.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Always. Lock it up.
Staring contest.
You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
North Carolina is a state full of history. Susanna Black shows us we don't have to travel far from Chapel Hill to go decades back in time.
You can see the trail used to come right through here.
Gib Barris has walked this property since he was a kid.
The bridge kind of started right about here.
And crossed this river too.
So to catch the school bus, we'd walk across the footbridge to the highway where the school bus would go by.
Now he uses his car, but back in the day, that footbridge was his only way to get across the water.
This was one way that people had access to the outside world.
There are 23 of these footbridges in North Carolina, built in the early 1900s by the Department of Transportation to connect those separated by rivers.
They went to communities that have since changed or moved on or passed on.
Author Katie Schultz became intrigued with the bridges shortly after moving to Appalachia.
They were designed by George Knipe and his team of local bridge engineers, and they were all built under his watch.
And for Knipe, it was important that no two bridges were the same. 22 of the 23 footbridges here in Appalachia are 3 feet wide. However, Honeycutt Bridge is 4. That's because a cemetery lies on the other side, and the coffins had to be carried by foot. Schultz says though the bridges might not have much use now, their history is something that should never be forgotten.
At one point in time, that was it for those people to cross the waterways. That was the main way to go. It was the quickest way. It's how you did your business. And it's not quite the same nowadays, but luckily, some of them are still standing.
Gib Barris's bridge isn't one of them.
That was the demise of this bridge. When it broke off, there where you see it broke, the upper portion of the tree fell right across the cables of the bridge and broke it in half and just lay it in the river.
If it's damaged to that extent, it's very unlikely that it will be repaired.
It was bittersweet. They're a fun thing to have, an interesting part of the history of Appalachia.
In Bakersville, I'm Susanna Black reporting.
Wow, would you cross one of those bridges?
I think I would, actually. What about you?
I think so. It looks like there's some great views from them.
Yeah.
Definitely not for people afraid of heights, though.
Beautiful in the fall.
Yeah, and I wonder, you know, if it is pretty badly damaged, whether or not there's a sign saying do not cross, you know.
I think that's the dangerous part, especially because there's just ropes for railing.
Right. Well, Susanna didn't seem afraid. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Good night.